You're watching Thrifty Kaniffy. Hello everyone, and welcome to Thrifty Kaniffy. Today I'm going to talk about these three knives, and I'm also going to have a little bit of a rant today. And that has to do with the way that Rough Ryder describes their knives. And when I mean describe, I mean the type of write-ups that they put in their product literature to help sell the knife, and basically just the overall description of what the knife is then called. Because when a manufacturer makes a knife, he sort of sets the parameters for which it's labeled. And to me, these knives were mislabeled, and that's the discussion I'm going to have today. Alright, so what do we have? We've got the first knife here is RR899. And I'll just show you all three boxes here at once. Okay? This is RR899, this is RR900, and this is RR959. Now these two just come in plain boxes. They aren't really part of any special type series. It's just yellow composition and amber jig bone. This one is in the Midnight Swirl series. Okay? So RR899, RR900, and RR959. These two knives came out before I was even familiar with Rough Ryder, so I've never been able to find any product literature on these two knives in terms of how they were labeled. But I'm going to assume that they were called a small stockman, because every time I find these listed anywhere, that's like in a store, like in an online store or online discontinued description, they're never called anything but a stockman. Okay, which they are technically a stockman, but it sort of falls short of the description I would use. This one was described as a gentleman's knife, gentleman's stockman. Okay, so that's how they're labeled. Now this is what I would argue. This knife is a standard Sowbelly. It is 3 3/4 inches in length. Okay, we've got a ruler on that. 3 3/4 inches length. These are 3 3/8 inch length. But you'll notice this pattern and this pattern are identical with the exception of the size. So this should be called a Sowbelly. Why is it not called a Sowbelly? And as a Sowbelly collector, that's going to bug you. That's going to be something like, well, the official name of it is just a small stockman. It's not necessarily a Sowbelly. They set the parameters, and you have to sort of decide for yourself, okay, well, is it a Sowbelly or is it not? And I'm here to say, and I'm going to make this claim right here, right now, that these are Sowbelly knives. 3 1/8 inch Sowbelly knives made by Rough Ryder. So, why is that important? It's not. It's technically not. You're a collector, you buy what you like. But it's sort of like saying, I go to buy a Porsche 911, and they call it a 916 or a 911B or something like that. You want the 911. That's what you were out to buy. That's what you're set to buy. It looks like a 911, does everything a 911 does, has the same engine. You know, you follow what I'm going with that, right? I mean, that's not the greatest example in the world, but you set out to get something in particular. It is what you think it is, but they're calling it something else, and it's just something that irritates me. So, if you're listening, Rough Ryder, please do a better job of labeling your designs. Now, they have about 25 different stockmans, so you would think that a description would be pretty important to get right with a stockman when they have so many different ones, right? They have trappers, they have lockbacks, they have serpentine style, they have dogleg style, they've got jumbo style, they've got tiny style, they've got miniature style. So you would think that would be an important aspect to get the description correct. Okay, so enough about how they're labeled. Let's look at the knives themselves, right? We have the 3 3/4 inch Sowbelly I've showed you If you've been following the channel, you've seen this knife, this pattern, plenty, right? It's got your clip blade, all right? And then on the reverse, you have your spay blade. And you have your sheep's foot. That's your 3 3/4 inch standard Sowbelly. Now, is there anything different about this knife? Let me take a look. Clip blade. Spay blade. And sheep's foot. Right? So, I don't think anybody's going to argue that this isn't a Sowbelly. It is what it is, and I just wish that they'd call it that. And that's my point. That's all the point I'm trying to make, is because I think there's people out there that aren't aware this knife exists. And that's another thing, is you have these knives coming and going all the time in terms of the patterns that Rough Ryder releases. They just, they disappear. I don't even know when the Midnight Swirl series came out, but this would have been the last one they put out, as far as I know. Now, I can miss patterns, I'll miss releases occasionally, because, as I said before, I've missed out on so many of the patterns that were released by Rough Ryder in the early days. I'm still just trying to play catch-up, and it's been a constant game of catch-up, trying to locate things on the secondary market, and sometimes I still discover knives I didn't even know exist. So I would say I've spent hours and hours and hours searching for more of these and different handles, colors, and whatnot, and I cannot find anything but these three. Now, to get this one second hand, you'll see there's a little bit of plating missing there. But yeah, they're just great knives, right? And they're 3 1/8 inch length. I think I showed you that already, did I not? Yes, I think I did. But that just makes for, perfect size to fit in the pocket. And so anybody who has used the excuse that this is too big, okay, I can see that. It's a little heavy, maybe. But this, much more suitable for someone who likes a smaller knife. So, maybe they missed out on that because they didn't know, hey, Sowbellys exist from Rough Ryder in a smaller size. So I'm officially calling this today the Small Sowbelly by Rough Ryder. Take that. Take that, Rough Ryder. That's what you should have called this knife. And gentleman's knife, okay. Well, gentleman's knife to me doesn't really do a good job of describing what it is that you mean. It's elegant, okay. But that's just that pattern. So if you release it again and it's not more of an elegant style, what does that mean? I don't know. So to me, I know labels are only what you make of them, but to me, when the manufacturer is just kind of being vague about what it is, it's frustrating. And when you're trying to go back and find these as a collector, it's frustrating. The one thing I've found to help locate these is these 2 stripes on the bolster. Somewhat unique. I don't think there's a lot of other patterns that use that 2 stripe bolster pattern. So that helps when you're looking through thousands and thousands of photos. And you're looking through horrible eBay descriptions when you're trying to find these things, right? Everybody's been there. You're searching for something and then somebody labels something wrong just slightly, and you miss out on an auction you didn't know existed because you couldn't locate it based on the keywords. So, words do matter in that regard, because when you use them to type them in and try to find something, it's important what you call it. And that's my only complaint. It's a silly complaint. I understand, and anybody who thinks that I'm being too serious about that, I'm not. But it is frustrating when you can't locate patterns when you're looking for hours and hours, just because it's sort of vague, and you're forced to look through a lot more things than you otherwise would if they just labeled it a little differently. But that's my rant for the day. Okay, so I said I wasn't going to rant anymore, and then I ran for another 5 minutes. So let me show you these knives. We've got the yellow composition here. Like I said, the double stripe bolsters on each side. This shield has a RR on it. Kind of tough to see it. There, I think you can there. and used on all the yellow composition patterns. They've made a lot of yellow composition patterns, so if you want to put together a set of those, that's gonna be a challenge. But there you have that in my, what I'm calling, small Sowbelly. This is the amber jig bone. You've got the bomb shield on this one, again double stripes. Looks like this one has brass pins on it rather than nickel silver pins. And then you've got nickel silver bolsters. Blades on these are like the ones I showed you before. There's really no difference in any of these. Alright, horseshoes on all of them. Yeah, and there's no blade rub at all on these. These are like really good in that regard. Spacing on that one, just a touch. I don't know. It's super tight. Yeah. I think it's just a glare I'm seeing there. Yeah, it's perfect. The jigging is really nice. You can see that jigging. It's just a nice knife. And there's your Rough Ryder bomb shield with the little horse guy in between there. No, there's no horse guy on that one. It's just the Rough Ryder. Yep. Okay. But it's a nice knife, and the latest that they did. Looks like they eliminated the RR on that one. It's just a plain shield. Yeah, there's no engraving on it. But the handles are really nice, just acrylic, but you know, it's got a nice swirl to it. Really changes with the light. Nickel silver pins on this one, and spacing on the blade. All of these are really good. So let's look at these blades. Yeah, again, horseshoe. Now this one has etching on it. Yeah, it's hard to read it. Hard to get the light just right. There we go. Midnight Swirl. Midnight Swirl. Yeah. Horseshoe, and again, so all of these are pretty much the same when you open up the blades. Mirror finish and all the same tank stamps. All of them are non half stop knives. But there you have it, guys. Really cool size and pattern. Hope I can find more if they do indeed exist. If not, this is it. I mean, these three are the only three I found, and if they release more, that'd be great. Or if I missed out on some that I'm not aware of, let me know if you guys know of any more of these, because I'd love to own more of them. But that's going to do it for me today. You guys take care. I hope you enjoyed the rant. That wasn't too long. I've got to let out my personality a little bit in some of these videos. They can't all just be reviews. So you're going to have some videos like this occasionally. But that's it for today. Take care, guys.